Moises Caicedo is 2 bookings away from missing a couple of games in our Premier League run-in towards the end of the season, and that would not be good. Chelsea are supposedly one of multiple clubs targeting Borussia Dortmund's Felix Nmecha, and the Morgan Rogers news refuses to go away, but I'm not going to lie to you, I'm here for it. Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, like I said, we're going to talk a bit about Moises Caicedo. I'm going to talk about some transfer news and just, how that affects our midfield and stuff in general. But guys, before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing this video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. And if you got a couple of cheeky hype points spare, I wouldn't say no to them either. Right, so we're going to start with Moises Caicedo. We have a rough Premier League end of season running. That's just absolutely true, man. There's basically no games that are easy at this point. We are either going against teams that are playing really well or are in dogfights, right? Like, our easiest game arguably is probably Nottingham Forest, but they're in a dogfight, so that's not going to be an easy game. We've got both of the Manchester clubs coming up. We've got Everton, Aston Villa, Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? It's like the run-in is rough, and we are going to need Moises Caicedo at his silky best if we are going to have any hope of getting into the top 5 this season. Now, the issue with that is Moises Caicedo has accrued 8 yellow cards already so far this season in the Premier League. I think it's actually like 15 in his entire time at Chelsea. I saw a graphic about it the other day, and the majority of them are for rash tackles, essentially. So it's been a bit of an issue for a little while, I've noticed, especially after the turning point, because Caicedo earlier in the season was like the best midfielder, like arguably one of the best midfielders in the world. And he's obviously still got all of that potential and that ability and stuff, but since the Arsenal game where he got sent off, it just seems to have kind of flipped a little bit, and I feel like we've been seeing a bit more of that kind of rash Moises Caicedo that we had at the very beginning when we got him, because you might all remember we spent a lot of money to bring him over from Brighton, and he didn't just instantly settle into the team. It took him a little while to get comfortable and to start showing us really what he can do. So the issue we have is that he's got 8 yellow cards. If he gets another 2 before the 32nd game in the Premier League, right? So he's got 5 games. If he picks up 2 yellow cards in the next 5 games, he gets an instant 2-match ban. And that could be transformative to our season. It really, really, really could, because missing Moises Caicedo for any of these upcoming games is not going to be great. Now, Andre Santos has done a brilliant job since Liam Rosenior has come in, and he's been trusted. He's looking great. Enzo Fernandez has been, arguably one of our best players this season. But we've been conceding silly goals, man. Do you know what I mean? We've been conceding silly goals, and not having Moises Caicedo available to us throughout the rest of these fixtures is probably going to be a bit rough. I wanted to ask the question, 32, it's like random, isn't it? It's so weird, like 32 games. Why is it at 32 games that it gets wiped or whatever? Or do you know what I mean? The reset supposedly is the 32 games in the Premier League mark, that if your cards kind of reset at that point. And I just think that's really, really, really bizarre. But either way, with the mad fixture list that we've got coming up, a couple of people have been coming out saying, like, a few news reports and a few content creators and news outlets and stuff are all kind of pushing forward that we've got the hardest running at for the rest of the Premier League season. We've just basically thrown away 4 points against Burnley and Leeds, which is savage, man, which is absolutely savage. And we are going to need to pick up as many points as possible. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Man City are the toughest games, definitely. I would argue that Aston Villa's probably a winnable game. They're only 6 points in front of us at the moment, so that could really help us out, actually, depending on how the rest of their season goes as well. But yeah, like I say, just to bring it back, Moises Caicedo going to be a huge part of making sure that we can actually get through that, right? And he's just got to learn to keep a lid on it. And if anything, that is only compounded by the Wesley Fofana incident, isn't it? It's like, it's been the story of this season, and I think we're only 1 red card away from matching QPR's record. I think it was 7 red cards in a season. We got most of them in such a short space of time towards the end of the Maresca tenure. Liam Rosenior's job now, the number 2 job is win football matches. Do you know what I mean? We need to be picking up some points. But in order to make sure that we can carry on winning football matches and we can stay competitive for the rest of this season, we need to stop getting silly cards, man. And I guess this is one of the things that's quite easy to attribute to having a reasonably young and inexperienced team, isn't it? So yeah, let me know what you think about that, guys. Do you think Moises Caicedo can make it through the next 5 games without getting 2 yellow cards? I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not convinced. I'm almost sure it's going to happen. It's it's not ideal, is it? But just at the rate that he's kind of picked him up this season and, what we've seen from him and stuff, I do definitely think that's probably going to cause us some issues. So let's move on. We're going to talk about some transfer news, and Felix Nmecha is the first player that I want to talk about today. So we've had dealings with Borussia Dortmund recently, haven't we? And it's not always gone amazingly well in our favour vis-a-vis Jamie Gittins, who is so nuts to feel like we are getting towards the end of the season now. And Jamie Gittins has just barely felt like a part of the team. Do you know what I mean? It is wild, isn't it, when you think about it? And a lot of fans, rightly so, to be honest, feel like we got kind of fleeced for Jamie Gittins. Now, with Jamie Gittins in particular, he's very young, so he can still develop and stuff. But Felix Nmecha is the player that we're going to talk about today. Felix Nmecha, German, 25-year-old, 190 centimetres, so he's about 6 foot, technical midfielder who's having a good season at Borussia Dortmund. Now, what's interesting, like I said, he's 25 years old, so the slightly promising thing about that is it's a decent target worth a reasonable amount of money, and it's not a 19-year-old. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need to start adding some experience into the team. So you would have thought he'd come in as like a supplementary, essentially rotational midfielder to fight for a spot, because truth be told, midfield has been one of our stronger points because we've got some of the better midfielders in the Premier League in Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, but especially since Liam Rosenior came in, Enzo Fernandez has been spending a lot of time playing in the number 10, and André Santos has played like nearly every game. Do you know what I mean? So the depth we've got after our 3 that are getting all of the game time at the moment is Dario Asugo, who has been spotted in training. A wild Dario Asugo has appeared. Absolutely love that. I mean, the thing is, Dario Asugo is probably not going to come in and make a huge difference, is he? Let's be completely honest. And then obviously we've got Romeo Lavia. So having a player on board like Felix Nmecha, 70 million euros is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. Like 70 million euros is a lot of money. He's got 2 goals and 3 assists in the German league in 23 appearances this season. So he's not like a numbers guy as such. Do you know what I mean? He's kind of there more to do a job than he is to get up and score goals, but he is capable of it. Yeah, I mean, Romeo Lavia is going to be on thin ice, I guess, do you know what I mean? Because if he gets another injury, that's probably the end of that. Sorry, I have to keep moving my stand for my camera because it keeps dropping down. I need to get myself a new one. But yeah, so Felix Nmecha looks like the kind of player that we should be going in for to bolster our midfield depth, if I'm completely honest. I haven't seen enough of him to go, I'm really excited about this guy, but I've checked out his player profile, and ultimately, we don't need to go and look for like amazing first-team midfielders, do we? Because Enzo Fernandez is really good, and Moises Caicedo is really good. André Santos is playing really, really well. But yeah, essentially what we can't have is Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez playing 50 games a season every single season or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need reliable depth. We need reliable rotation because in particular, Fernandez and Caicedo have been dealing with lots of injury issues. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez had the synovitis thing, and Moises Caicedo, at a point earlier in the season, was not even training before games. I remember early in the season before the Fulham game, he literally didn't train all week, and we threw him into the game anyway. So really, we need to avoid that kind of stuff, and a player like Felix Nmecha looks like a step in the right direction, if that's the profile of player that we're going to go for. If I'm completely honest, for me, it's not even about Felix Nmecha as such. It is about the profile, and that is the kind of profile I think we need if we are going to bolster our deep midfield. So guys, let me know what you think. Have you seen much of Felix Nmecha? Do you think that he'd come in and fight for a first team spot? Do you think he's the kind of guy that would provide good rotation? Although at 25 years old and potentially 70 million euros, that does seem a little bit expensive, I guess. But we really need to like go for it, don't we, in terms of like getting our midfield and the depth across the squad sorted, to be completely honest. There doesn't feel like there's going to be loads of sales in the midfield area. I could imagine Dario Asugo getting a loan because he's just had 0 chance to play for us this season. And to be honest, I could potentially see Romeo Lavia getting a loan as well. They will obviously be testing him now and figuring out, how fit he can be or whatever, but it might, like I've mentioned this before, I think the thing to do next season might be to get Romeo Lavia a loan to a club in Italy or France, or maybe a Strasbourg loan, as much as I hate to just like use them as a dumping ground for all of our players, but just somewhere that he can go and get game time without it being like a super physical league and without the expectation maybe quite being so high, so he can get back to his best. So yeah, Felix Nmecha, let me know what you think in the comments. And we're going to wrap up today's video by talking about Morgan Rogers, who is back in the news again. We are talking about going in for Morgan Rogers. He has just signed a new deal, right? And in today's football world, that doesn't mean that he is unavailable. That just means he's going to cost more money. I think there was 100 million being floated last season, wasn't there? Because there was this whole mad noise where it's like we were valuing Jackson at 100 mil, they were valuing Morgan Rogers at 100 mil, and UEFA came in and wagged their little fingers at us and was like, no, you can't do that. That's not how much they're worth. Stop trying to inflate your numbers. So obviously it didn't end up happening, but they have obviously got Morgan Rogers to sign a new deal, and now we're looking, I think 150 million euros is the amount that I saw, which is in and around 100 million pounds. Not going to lie, at the start of this season, was just kind of hoping that Cole Palmer was going to be able to come in and hit the ground running, but obviously he has been largely just massively curtailed by injuries this season, man. And we've seen flashes of the Cole Palmer that we know and love, especially recently, but not enough to comfortably say I think Cole Palmer will be ready to just hit the ground running next season. So someone like Morgan Rogers does a lot of things. He provides not only support and depth, but you don't spend 100 million on a depth player. Do you know what I mean? Morgan Rogers comes in to play at the end of the day. For Aston Villa, in 26, 27 appearances, he's scored 8 goals and got 5 assists in the Premier League. So that's really good numbers, man. That's really good numbers. It's not like, your Cole Palmer getting, the guy you want to get 20 goals a season or whatever, but he's not exactly a squad player, is he, Morgan Rogers? I think he's the kind of player that we need. And if you look at the fact that we're playing Enzo Fernandez so much in the 10 at the moment, arguably Fernandez's best position for me is when he sits a bit deeper and stuff, but he does play that number 10 role really well. If you take a look at Morgan Rogers' heat map, he is all over the place, man. He is all over the place. He's going back. He gets stuck in with his defending. He can play off the left. He can play off the right. He's a really, really versatile player, and I don't think we'd use him much as a winger as such, but I mean, maybe Rosenior actually, we definitely wouldn't have done under Maresca because he's not a byline guy. But under Liam Rosenior, I could see a player like Morgan Rogers fitting really well into the system, and then you could have more opportunity to see Cole Palmer out on the right. Do you know what I mean? And it definitely seems to work to me. I've always been really interested in Morgan Rogers, if I'm completely honest. I think he's an absolutely phenomenal player. He will probably go to the World Cup this year, where Cole Palmer probably won't go to the World Cup this year. I don't think Cole Palmer's shown enough, and to be honest, I don't really want him to. Now that's mad, because obviously I'm an England fan. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I really want England to, have a good crack at winning the World Cup this year. Of course I do. But as a Chelsea fan, Cole Palmer needs a break, man. Cole Palmer needs to take this summer off, essentially, and be able to, get a full pre-season, which is obviously we didn't get last season because we had the Club World Cup. Cole Palmer's definitely been affected by that. So I just think that if Morgan Rogers does go and have a good World Cup and Cole Palmer has been able to rest, and then there is a chance that we can go and spend big money on a Morgan Rogers, I think our team could look really, really tasty next season with that. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think about that as well. Morgan Rogers, I've been a Morgan Rogers fan for ages. The inventor of the cold celebration, to see him and Cole Palmer doing that at the same time is still a little bit of a dream, isn't it? But I just think that he's proved season after season now, at the tender age of 23, he's still only 23 years old, that he is good enough to play in a top Premier League team. He is a big part of why Aston Villa have been so successful for the last few years. And the thing is, it's not just as simple as Aston Villa will never sell him. Aston Villa are in a little bit more trouble than we are with the UEFA stuff, right? Like the squad cost ratio, spending too much money, and they've kind of done it again this season, banking on getting Champions League football. If they get Champions League football, they'll probably be all right, and they might not need to sell him, but they're still walking a tightrope, and if they want to, if they get into the Champions League, they'll need to improve their squad in other areas as well. So Morgan Rogers might potentially be a sacrificial lamb for Aston Villa one way or the other, and I don't know, man. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, we're not in an amazing position at the moment. Obviously, Aston Villa have performed better than us this season, but like I say, when it comes down to the finances and stuff, it can be a little bit more complicated than that. Either way, there's probably, we're not going to be the only club in for Morgan Rogers. I imagine that there will definitely be a battle for his signature, but I'd be interested to see with who, because I don't know. I don't see Man United spending 100 mil on Morgan Rogers. Man City, maybe, but they're going to need a Bernardo Silva replacement at some point, I guess, aren't they? Liverpool, I don't see Liverpool spending that kind of money on another player who essentially they've got Florian Wirtz, haven't they? And they need to kind of get the best out of him before they think about going and spending a huge amount more money on another player like that. So I think there might be some competition, but I think it wouldn't just be a straight shootout, but I think we could be in with a chance. So, guys, let me know what you think. I'm sorry about this video. I need to get a new camera stand. It's been tilting the whole time, so I have to keep stopping and so if I'm off at a weird angle or something at any point, it's just because of that. But yeah, let me know what you think about everything in today's video, guys. Moises Caicedo, can he get through the next 5 games without getting another 2 yellow cards? I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think so. Felix Nmecha, I like the idea of getting a player like that to bolster our midfield. I think it's the sort of player we should be looking at. No more kids, do you know what I mean? Let's just go and spend a reasonable amount of money. But 70 mil is quite a lot for a player that isn't necessarily obviously going to get straight into the first team, do you know what I mean? Although it's less of a Jamie Gittins situation in terms of it's not so much about buying potential as it is about buying the player that he is, because he is having a really good season. He's been really important for Dortmund. Dortmund are not going to let us off easy in terms of the money. They didn't with Jamie Gittins. They're probably a bit annoyed that we recalled Darren Anselmino so we could send him to Strasbourg, which allowed us to bring Mamadou Sarr back. So yeah, Dortmund will always deal with us, but they're never going to make it easy. And Morgan Rogers, man, I just think he's an absolutely wicked player, and I've wanted to see him in a Chelsea shirt for a few years. And the rumours aren't going away. And like I said, Aston Villa's financial situation in particular is what I think could see them sell Morgan Rogers. Do you know what I mean? Is they'll make a good chunk of cash for Morgan Rogers, and it will help them stay liquid. And if they do finish in a Champions League spot, it will also allow them to bolster their squad in other areas where they need to. So I would love to know what you guys think. A nice one, guys. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video. If you did, I'm going to be taking part in a collab on someone else's channel soon, so I will share that when it's available, because it's probably going to be a really, really interesting chat. Nice one, guys. I hope you're all having an absolutely wicked day, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.